full name on there, if you could give me your full name. And then let me know who you're representing here today, whether you're the applicant, owner, or someone else with the applicant ownership team, a neighboring property owner, or someone else connected to the project. So we'll start with Mike Schroer.
Hi, Mike Schroer, I'm the owner.
Okay, great. Welcome, Mr. Schroer.
Thank you.
It looks like we have two people under Julia Garcia.
Aaron Fritsch with Jose Garcia.
Jose Garcia.
Did you say it was Fritsch?
Fritsch, yes.
Okay.
Fritsch.
Okay, welcome. And looks like we have someone under Robert Adaran.
It's Roberta Turan, and I'm a neighbor.
That makes more sense. Welcome. And Lisa B.
Lisa Barris, Berus, and I am a neighbor.
Okay, great. Welcome. And finally, we have Trey Sheldon here from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Trey.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This is just going to cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll begin. So this is the December 17th, 2025 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the city. The case before us today is case number ZH20250128. The address is 1029 Monastery Street. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, I'll allow the folks from Jose Garcia Design and Mr. Schroer to tell me about the project. Any background you think is important, what exactly it is you're proposing to do, the zoning relief that you're requesting today, and then of course why you believe that zoning relief is appropriate and should be approved. You can orient that presentation however you would like. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's really up to you how you want to communicate that information. After you've had that opportunity, I will then turn it over to the public. If the neighbors that are here would like to ask any questions or make any comments, I'll give them an opportunity after the applicant has presented its case. I will then hear from Trey Sheldon. If Mr. Sheldon would like to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report that he's prepared, I'll give him that opportunity. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, I'd like to collectively swear all those people in together right now. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off of mute. I'll need you to raise your right hand and to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Do.
Okay, great. All right, so who will be taking the lead for us here on the applicant's presentation?
Hi, we'll come between 8:30 and 10:30 tomorrow.
Trey, would you mind muting for us? I gotcha. So someone from the Jose Garcia design team or the owner will need to start the presentation for us. Who will it be?
We will start the presentation and explain the project.
Floor is yours.
Thanks for coming today. My name is Aaron Fritsch. I am an employee here with Jose at Jose Garcia Design. Let me share my screen real quick so we can go through the deck.
Okay.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay. So we will start by introducing the site. So the lot right now, located at 1029 Monastery Street, previously used to be under ownership of Tony Scamama. That residential lot used to be divided into 3 separate lots. The lot itself was then consolidated by Mr. Scamama into one single lot. That is a single family residential lot. When the lot was consolidated in 2009, Mr. Scamama went to John Sennhauser and requested a proposal to do a large family residence. And in that proposal, John Sennhauser and Tony Scamama requested several different items for relief for zoning. In that relief that they requested in 2009, they requested that they have a height variance in the front off Monastery Street facing south for 45 feet compared to what was allowed at 35 feet. In the rear, they were allowed 38 feet and they requested a variance for 53 feet. And in the front, they requested a 0 lot line on Monastery Street. At the time, that would have been close to 10 feet above the allowed height in the front. That would have been an additional 14.7 feet in the rear. Eventually, that proposal for John Sennhauser through the zoning hearing, all recommendations were to approve all the variances and relief requests. Fortunately, for that lot, for John Sennhauser, those plans did not move forward and the project went away. So the lot remained vacant. So previously the lot was vacant, this proposal happened, and then the proposal did not go through. Therefore, the lot has since remained vacant. So for over 30 years, the lot has been vacant and sort of a blight on the Monastery Street in Mount Adams. Now the lot is under ownership of Mike and Carrie Schroer. The lot is still consolidated and based on the existing conditions that are there now, which are different than they were in 2009, our required setbacks to the east are 2 feet. Our required setback to the west is 3 feet 2.5 inches. Our required setback to the north is 17.18 feet. And to the front, it's 1.925 feet. These setbacks establish what is the allowable building footprint for us. Based on the zoning code, what's allowed in the front is still 35 feet. And in the rear, what's allowed is 42.75 feet. Those criteria outlined in the code establish our building footprint, our building height, which makes up our building envelope that is allowed within this site. Based on that envelope, the top floor of the house and the square footage, only so much of it is buildable. 39% to be exact. So more than half of the top area of the site in the envelope is not buildable. So we'll see as we go down the slide, we're asking for relief in the height of the building to meet the requirements for the owner's needs. The other requirements that we're asking for is to have a 0 lot line on the east. So that's a 2 foot relief to the east. We're also asking for 2 feet relief to the south, which gives us a 0 lot line to the south on Monastery. And in the height, we're asking for 10.75 feet of relief above what is allowable now. So we are allowed 47.25 at this point, and we are going at this point, and we're asking for an additional 10.75 feet to make the house viable, to meet and support the needs of the current owner. We're also asking for an additional 2 feet of relief in the height off Monastery Street. So from 35 to 37. That compared to the proposal and precedent that was set in 2009, where all relief requests were granted, we have less of a relief request in the rear by approximately 4 feet. And we have less of a relief request in the front by approximately 8 feet. Again, all the relief requests to the right in 2009 were approved. So there's a step-by-step of what we're doing with the mass. So we're going to try and maximize the envelope, but we're going to push back off of Monastery Street to provide some green space. We're going to carve in off Monastery Street so that we can provide access, car access, directly off Monastery for the owner. We're also carving in from the east to provide street access and steps up into the house. That relief creates a green space that's off Monastery Street. At the top level, we're pushing in on the south, we're pushing in on the west, and we're pushing in on the east to create more relief and separation between the neighbors. And more importantly, in the back, in the rear, where we're asking for the height, we're stepping the house. This coincides with the hillside design requirements. So you can see here in this black dashed line, this is where we are legally allowed to go and bring the building out. We are asking and we are stepping the house back to preserve the view for the neighbor here to the east, so they have a clear line of sight down to the Ida Street Bridge, to Music Hall, and to the Cincinnati Museum Center. We're also stepping it back again at the top. Overall, we're giving up close to 17 feet, 9 inches from what we could legally take. We're asking, because we are stepping this house back and giving up square footage, that we would then ask to have the square foot back in the front and to the east, which was 2 feet to the east and 2 feet to the south. Another part of the relief that we're asking for is the cumulative cut fill in the project. Under the current conditions, we're only allowed to take 8 feet of cumulative fill. Starting where the house begins at 788, we would only be allowed to cut down to 780. That only leaves a very small percentage of the site that would be allowed to be excavated. Because the topography is so deep and steep within this area, that area alone is not viable for building. We are asking that we use, or that we are allowed to excavate to the point of 758 and use the footprint that is established by the hillside standards that says this is the area in which we can build. However, we would need some relief to do that, to go down to this point to excavate. As we excavate, the house foundation steps so that we do not have any major vertical cliff-like surfaces. The foundation is going to be piered into the hillside, and as it begins to go down, it steps with the hillside. This is the existing grade that we have now. This red line represents where the bedrock is currently at, based on the geocheck report that was done by Alton Witzig. We asked that after we propose that once we're done, we would also maintain the existing grade of the current site. Reason this is important is because not only is the stepping meeting the hillside standards, but more importantly, based on the current cut and fill requirements, only 21% of the site is developable, 79% of it is not. So to meet the footprint, we're asking for additional relief for the cut and the fill. This is an exterior elevation of the house on Monastery Street, where we have the house step back to create a garden off Monastery and a green roof on top, utilizing a brick facade. As you can see here in this elevation, the foundation is stepped down across the hillside, and there's terracing that is also happening to provide garden terraces to the north and to help preserve views from neighbors so that they can also see down to Ida Street Bridge, to the Museum Center, and to Music Hall. You have large openings in the facade to allow for views out down towards the valley and for natural light into the building. And we're using materials that are consistent with materials that are on Monastery Street. We believe, based on the design proposal that we have, that we are meeting the hillside standards that avoids major cuts in the hillside because it's stepping. We are minimizing the excavation that's required for the project by doing piers. We are maintaining a clear sense of the brow by stepping back off the hill. And based on the project that we're proposing now in the massing, based on the live section plan of Cincinnati and the action step to improve the quality and number of moderate to high income rental or structures, the project improves the quality and number of moderate to high income rental and homeowners in the area. This coincides with the live section plan established by Cincinnati in 2012. In addition to the document presented, along with the massing that we currently have for a single family residence, if a non-single family residence were to be built here, say a developer were to come in and purchase this site, they could build 3 buildings that take on 4 units. So you could have 12 units built here that have no separation between those units. And they would be required to not provide any off-street parking. Therefore, it would be harmful to the site if a developer were to build here. It would crowd the street and flood the street with more traffic. There would be a far less significant investment into the property and into the area to build that kind of residence, far less substantial than the kind of investment that Mike and Carrie Schroer are willing to put into the site and into the Mount Adams community. Because of that, we believe we have strong support from the neighbor, Margaret Mock on 1033 Monastery, as her letter states in the submission document, and from Jim May, who lives on 1221 Ida Street. This is why I also believe we have support from the Mount Adams Civic Association. I believe has submitted a no objection letter for this project. We wholeheartedly believe this is a tremendous opportunity for Mount Adams, for the site, and it's a major opportunity for Mike and Carrie Schroer as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Frisch, for your comments. Would anyone else from the applicant team or the owner like to say anything before I move to public comment?
Well, just as a quick comment, Carrie and I are very excited about the project and very excited about moving into Mount Adams. It's been 40 years ago, I had my first house in Mount Adams down on Wareham, and I've always wanted to come back into the neighborhood, and this just represents a great opportunity to do that. So we're very excited about it.
Okay, great. All right, I think I have some questions, but I think I'll wait until we go through public comment before getting into some of those. I think we'll start with Roberta and then go to Ms. Barus. Barus.
Thank you. I'm excited to see something built on the property, so that's very good news. It's just so high. And the offset from the street, I'm also concerned about hillside stability. So if those issues, and I have talked with Margaret before, and she is supportive of the work you've done. It's just going to be a monstrous house compared to anything else on the street. So I can't say I am super opposed to it because I'm glad to have a home built, but I would have preferred, to be honest with you, 3 families or 3 houses that had parking. But that's not the option we have for us today. But the height is just absolutely huge. So we'll live with it. I mean, but it's definitely not something I would have hoped for that site. And the setback from the sidewalk, gosh, I'd almost rather have you go further back and up than continue to have it crunched into the sidewalk. But I understand the request, and we'll live with it.
Okay, thank you. Could you remind me, is your home located downhill, or I guess would that be to the west of?
I am uphill.
subject
I'm at the
property?
top of the hill,
Okay,
1037.
okay. And based on the presentation that you heard, do you believe that the height will negatively impact views from your property? Is that the concern?
I'll be honest with you, I can't tell. I'm thinking it wouldn't unless I look that way, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not architecturally savvy enough to understand that. So I can't tell. I'm hoping it doesn't, and I'm just gonna learn to live with it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your testimony and your perspective here today. I appreciate it. Okay, we'll go to Ms. Barris.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And I also am excited to see something there in the empty lot. My few concerns are they've talked about the variance reliefs that were given in 2009. And at that time, Mr. Skamama owned that property, and he also owned my house at 1021 Monastery, which he sold to us in 2020. And the owner where Margaret Mock lives, no one was living there at that time. So there really was no adjacent neighbor to oppose any of the variance requests at that time. And now what I'm concerned about is the huge envelope of it, that it completely obscures my eastern view from absolutely no sun will get through at all because it goes all the way forward and so high. And quite honestly, if what is proposed had been built when we were looking, we would not have purchased this property. So we do feel that this will adversely affect our resale value of our property. And part of what was mentioned was in order to meet the owner's needs. Well, this is an extremely large house, and I don't feel would be any hardship to them if it was maybe a tiny bit smaller and they pulled back the height and some from the road. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. And I will add your written correspondence to the record as well. Okay, let's go over to Trey Sheldon. Trey, anything you want to add to the discussion here?
I do find part of the site to be a bit unique in that this is one of the steeper properties in terms of as far as the topography goes that we typically see. I'm trying to find that section in my staff report because I literally figured out the rise over run. Yeah, I mean, this is falling, uh, the topography of the site descends. I have this under subsection G of the base development requirements in my staff report. The topography of the site stands steeply downslope from northwestward at 791 above sea level at the southeast corner to approximately 746 above sea level at the rear or north property line for a total of approximately 45 feet. The parcel is only 83 feet in depth total. Um, so this results in a very steep rise to run of 54.22%, or in degrees, it's 28.5. So, you know, the ground is falling off at a very rapid, extent. So, at least as far as the excavation and fill component of this, um, given that they've stepped the foundations and they've utilized drilled piers to get down to bedrock, I think that's pretty reasonable under the circumstances. I did read through the geotech report um, as far as slope stability, and they are going all the way down to bedrock, which is not necessarily the case in all of these. The piers are going to extend all the way down to a solid limestone layer. Um, but I just wanted to point out the steepness, David, because uh, it's in a lot of these cases, it's difficult for people to if they're doing a basement at all, they end up coming in for some relief from the 8 feet requirement, and that's often the case with our cumulative excavation and fill because of the way it's calculated. But here, I really wanted to emphasize that point about how steep this property is, and I think Mr. Frisch did an image of it of, you know, if you only went to 8 feet, it would exceedingly limit the property. It basically make it unbuildable in that context for a single family home. Um, I did want to explain for everybody here, even though this is in a single family neighborhood, what Mr. Fritsch, I believe, was alluding to earlier on, um, it's in a connected communities sub-district, which is the middle housing sub-district, and it's in single family two, which is the smallest lot size requirement for SF2. So I believe what he was alluding to is that you could, you know, potentially re-subdivide this had the lot not ever been consolidated. It's hypothetical that a developer could come in, re-subdivide the lot into 3 lots, which would each meet the 2,000 square foot requirement for easily meet the 2,000 square feet requirement for middle housing, and then you can build up to 4 units per. As you're familiar, David, you can build 1, 2, 3, 4 units in those. You can build up to 4 dwelling units as long as you have the um, area to build a single family home. Does that make sense to you? I think that's
Well,
what he
let
was
me,
getting at, is that you could hypothetically, pardon me, you could come in and subdivide this back to some configuration of 2,000 square foot lots and build 3, 4 family structures there due
so
to
I
connected
understand.
communities.
So if
I think that's,
I could ask you a question about that.
sure.
Yeah.
I was just trying to explain that for, especially for the other. I'm sorry. I'm going to turn the uh, volume down on the phone there. My apologies for the interruption. Go
Yeah,
ahead, David.
so my question is, I understand that the use could be multifamily instead of single family, but I think my question here, going to some of the neighbors' concerns, is would would that also allow them to build structures similar in height and massing and setback?
Well, I think so because they would in SF2, once you had the separate lots, then we would start averaging the existing dwellings with the interior-most lot. You could have a 0 and 5 setback on it, hypothetically, on it. So they might need relief for the. I'm not sure how that would play out. I obviously didn't, you know, I'm simply trying to explain what was being explained. So when you have you know, the SF2 at that point, you're darn near capable of doing you know, a row house kind of situation, and the connected communities allows you to have up to 4 dwelling units in each building, as long as it meets the base area of zoning for a single family, which would be 2,000 square feet. And I think this is, it's a 1.138 acre parcel. So anyhow, I guess I was just trying to help explain what I think he was trying to explain there. That you could put 4 units in here. They would still need to meet, they would still probably need to meet the requirements, but hypothetically you could end up with something close to the same massing and same request. It's just, it could end up being three dwelling units instead of 1.
Okay.
I think
So,
I'm
well,
just
and
trying to,
I'm
I'm just trying to explain connected communities and the effect.
Yeah, let me, Mr. Fridge, if you could jump off of mute really quickly for us here. Is that what you were trying to get at? Is that like just that the use could be different and it could just be a more impactful use, having more families there and potentially more cars? Or were you trying to say that this height that you're requesting would have been permitted by right if it were a multifamily development?
Trying to get, what I was trying to say is, to Trey's point, by building more units there, it'd be more harmful to the site. You could build 4 more units there that would be similar in height and similar in massing. So their setbacks would be similar, their height requirements would be similar. For example, our height that we're asking for is only 2 feet above the requested or the required zoning height. We're at 37, the zoning height requirement is 35 feet, so it's only 2-foot difference. By building 4 units there, they would be very similar in the massing. Their step backs would be maybe even deeper because of the adjacent lot that because you're building next to your own development versus averaging the 2 that are further apart. So that would actually be even more harmful to the neighbors, especially uphill for views down to Ida Street Bridge. And more importantly, because there is no separation and there's no off-street parking required for those kind of units, unlike a single family who's required to have parking and off-street access, that street is already crowded, and it's already crowded with parking. It's already crowded with traffic. So that's going to increase the amount of flow on that street already. So our points is that, yes, the massing is similar, probably even more so because they're in the current code, you are allowed a height exception for an elevator tower or a stair tower if it's under so many square feet. And for a multifamily development or more units, they can build up to however tall they want that elevator or stair tower to be, because for those units, they're going to have rooftop access. So the rooftop would most likely be bigger. The elevator or circulation to get up there could even be bigger. So it would go past what we're proposing now. So the massing, the height would all be similar, and the amount of traffic, I think, would be harmful.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
just ask, can I confirm the height on the front is only going to be 37, 2 feet above? Is that correct?
Yes,
And that does not include the elevator shaft, correct?
correct.
So that would be another 7, 8 feet. Okay, and just let's be realistic. I have not seen multifamily dwellings in Mount Adams. It was advertised for 2 or 3 homes with garages. So that's originally what was proposed for the last probably year or 2. So I just think comparing it to 4 families, I mean, with no parking is probably not something that someone would want to purchase. But I do understand that the mass is somewhat similar. So I can't disagree with that.
Trey, if I could we get some clarity on the height request? In the staff report, I'm seeing that there's a request for relief of 10.75 feet from the maximum height that's allowed. So I'm hearing 37 in the front. Does that mean there's or 2 feet in the front? Does that mean there's 8 feet in the back, and that's cumulative? Or can you shed some light on how that calculation was made and what the actual number is?
In the back, the 10.75 feet is relief from because they stepped the terrace. I think it's to look. I can look on. I can't track what image it is that Aaron has, but
Here, I'll
number
I'll
5,
sh-
figure 5 on my staff report, and
let me,
figure 9 on my staff report. He did one with
here,
it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fritsch, let me just share mine real quick. I've got it pulled up. At least this is again what I'm looking at in the staff report here. I think this is a similar image that was shared before, but so we're saying that front height relief of 2 feet here, and then rear height relief of 10.75 from here to here, and that excludes the elevator tower here. Is that right, Trey?
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
And I originally had it as 2 feet of relief to 37 feet called out as a separate item of relief. And for some reason, I believe in the final edit that Emily did, I don't know. I think that it just showed one relief number instead of relief for the front and the rear.
Okay. Got it.
But I hope that
Alright.
makes sense. This drawing, I think, does a decent enough job of depicting it. It's if they were just going straight up and didn't have the step part of this, right, with the terraces and so on, you'd be measuring at a different point. So
Yeah, so if
You're-
this went all the way up here, then it would, is that what you're saying?
yes, you'd end up with an additional, I think 5.5 feet or something of relief beyond what's being requested if you didn't have the stepping.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks. Trey, and to Mr. Fritsch, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to all of the comments you've heard here from the public and from Trey. But Trey, is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of comments?
Not that this at least for me, trying to work with them, I know is a balance between what the homeowners were seeking in terms of massing. I do think it's a better project in terms of the hillside from what it started out as. I began to work with Aaron and Jose, or they had a preliminary meeting with me many months ago about this project, and I will say that steps were. I agree, it is a large dwelling. I can say that steps were taken over the time, including the stepping of the terraces and the opening up of the design. It's sort of less boxy, I guess I would say, from a massing standpoint than the Skamama residence was, because they have done this terracing. They do have the concave walls. So when you look at the setback, I think if you look at a kind of the 3D CAD rendering that he did that shows that Aaron did that shows the line of sight from the house to the right of it, you can start to see that kind of soften, and that the while we have to take the setback lines from the furthest point of the wall. I mean, I quite frankly haven't dealt with many houses that have a concave shape that reduce the massing, or it's unique. It's definitely one of the most unique dwellings I've seen. So I just did want to point that out because it did soften that up some. And in relation to the total massing, the roof tower also depicted in that, I mean, the stair and elevator tower is a very small proportion of the total square footage. I don't even think they went even to the 200 square feet that they were entitled to. And I do think as far as the street frontage there, if you did have 3 separate lots with 3, with 4 units in them, and they each had a 200 square foot elevator or tower, which generally is toward the front, so that they have the view from the back. I think that would create some more massing, but I can't speculate. I've been to Mount Adams many times, but I'm not as familiar with it as the neighbors or the Schreurs, as far as what somebody would want or could not build. It's just that the connected communities, by increasing density, clearly made it possible to put multifamily in a single family district, and that wasn't a condition that would have existed until July of about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So I can't speak to what somebody would, whether people would want condos, you know, basically, then I can't speak to whether people would want what, you know, multi-story condo buildings here or not. But it looks like they could do some of that, at least in terms of the connected communities requirements, and given the lot size, that you only have to have 2,000 square feet per lot to do up to a four unit. So and parking is not required, and as was stated, it's in that MH district, so parking is not required. So they have at least done that, I suppose. And uh, also, there's the whole setback. You have kind of a unique thing here too on the front setback, in that it's a cantilevered roof. So you have, I mean, cantilevered upper floors. So you have sort of a setback into there for a garden area and an entry and a garage that are further back than the upper floor of the house. So it's like it's a very unique property. So it's a tough one to figure out. I you know I I recommended approval on this. I do agree with Ms. Tehran's statement that it is large for the houses immediately around it. If you go up Mount Adams a little bit more, like to the right of this, and you start going uphill, you do have some larger buildings, with massing more similar to this. Um, you know, on the other hand, you have a lot that might otherwise just go undeveloped for a very long period of time. I mean, it's been decades. There are some kind of ruins there. That's another thing I didn't really point out. If you look at it there, and I usually go by and do a site visit, David, on ones like this. So if you do, just note that there's for some reason, when former structures were torn down decades ago, there are like ruins of foundations and so on in the hillside there, and for some reason a very large parking pad toward to the right side of the property. If you looked on Cages, I put it in an aerial image from 1996, the black and white one that kind of shows these structures still built into the hill there that when they just never got completely removed like they should have. But it's just it looks like for many decades this has been kind of left with the ruins of some former structure. Who knows what was there, and a big parking pad there that just have sort of been relict or just sitting there for many decades. So that's about it on the background. I probably should have started with the background on that for you, but it looks like this has been kind of I don't want to say blighted, but it's certainly been not a beautiful view there with the parking pad and these ruined foundations and so on remaining in the hillside for decades.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your testimony, your work on the staff report here. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Fritsch and just sort of lead off with a question here. And I think everyone probably agrees here that it'd be hard to put this vacant lot back to productive use without some zoning relief because of the nature of the site. But Mr. Fritsch, could you more specifically tell me why you can't alleviate some of the concerns of the neighboring property owners in terms of the scale and the massing of this, other than owners' preferences?
Yeah, if I may, I don't want to speak too much for the owners because he's present, but they found this property. It's exactly what they were looking for. And they have a program for their house, which is a very specific program for their way of life. And based on the very significant investment, they want to take, obviously, advantage of the, everything that the site has to offer. They come with a defined program for their house. It's not that they're overextending it or doing anything outrageous. That's their program, and we respected that. That's what's at stake is the viability of their program. We call program all the needs listed carefully by the owners, right? The viability of the program in the site, which we believe, I mean, considering it's our vision that considering what we have, it will be a huge addition to the neighborhood, not a detriment.
In addition to that, Mr. Strickey, part of your question was, is there anything else we can do to alleviate the neighbors' concerns? First and foremost, we respect everybody's comments and concerns for their own property in which they live, 100%. I think the owners already have made some concessions. For example, in some of the 3D that I had, we're pushing back the east facade significantly. For one of the neighbors to the east, Margaret, they're giving up almost 17 feet of total linear foot that they're legally allowed to. That's a big concession. That's a lot of square footage. That when you go through the whole envelope of the site, that could be used for other program. So they're pushing back twice, 2 levels for that. In addition to that, I would say anything that is built on that site, whether it's a single family home or not, or we're asking for 2 feet of relief or not, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, but to Lisa's point about her eastern sunlight, anything that goes on that site will block her eastern sunlight. Anything that takes advantage of what it's illegally allowed to do will block her eastern sunlight. Our variances do not, and reliefs don't create any more hardship for her or that property than what is legally allowed right now. We're not asking to go closer to her home, and we're not asking really anything on that side as far as relief. We're actually creating a concave shape to give more separation between that property and ours. So again, I understand her comment about the foundations, which we are not only peering to bedrock, we're peering 15 to 17 feet into the bedrock, which is a huge difference. We're not stopping, we're going way down, which is going to lock that house into the hillside. But in addition to that, anything legally allowed there will block the eastern sunlight of Lisa's property.
The bottom line is the difference between what's allowable and what we're asking relief for, in our view, is not a lot. Doesn't make a huge difference.
Okay.
I would just like to say, I appreciate listening to the input and providing perspective. I did not realize that concave, so I'm less concerned about the front of the house overtaking the sidewalk and street. So that's new for me based on looking at the drawings. So I just, and I do believe we want this property developed. We don't want it to just sit vacant for another 10 or 20 years. So just a couple comments. I guess the only other thing is I know the Jose Garcia houses, they've built others in Mount Adams and they are beautiful. They look nice. So I just hope that they continue to provide a positive benefit to the street. I'm not sure what to do about my other neighbor's issue with the view. I guess I didn't realize that somebody else could do the exact same thing. So learning for me, I've never sat in on one of these. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to at least be a part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Barris, I've given Ms. Turan a couple opportunities to speak here. So just out of fairness, is there anything else you want to add, having heard more testimony here?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it and get my voice heard.
Okay, great. Thank you again for being here. All right, we'll go back to the applicants and the owners on this. I don't think I have any more questions. Anything you'd like to say in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
No, again, I just want to reiterate that we're very excited about the opportunity to live in Mount Adams. To echo Aaron's remarks, though, I mean, I think we have been more than willing to make changes in the plan to ameliorate Margaret's desires for views and so forth. We want to be good neighbors. At the same time, you want to have a very, very nice house. We live in a nice house now. We want to live in a nice house up there. So I think we've done things to kind of actually bring the house smaller or make the house a little bit smaller than initially planned. I don't think we want to go any further than that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fritsch or Mr. Garcia, anything else?
We appreciate all the comments. We're extremely excited about the project, not only for the owners, but for the neighborhood. That's our honest opinion. It will be a great addition to Mount Adams.
Okay. All right.
And I appreciate the comments about the other homes that we built there. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, unless there's anything else, I think we can leave it at that. I want to thank everyone again for their time and their testimony here today. I've got a fair amount of testimony and materials that I'd like to review a little bit more before making a formal decision on this. I also think this would be a project that would be particularly helpful to do a site visit which is essentially just a walk around the neighborhood. It's been a long time since I used to parallel park on Monastery Street when I worked in Mount Adams. I am familiar with the street and the neighborhood, but I'd like to get on the ground before I make a final decision as well. So as soon as I make a decision, I will put that decision in writing. That will serve as the official decision for the application and the request for relief. When I finish that, I put into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. Regardless of the outcome, my decisions are appealable to the Zoning Board of Appeals. If someone wants to explore that option, it must be done within 30 days, and there'll be instructions in the decision itself to let you know how to do that. Let's see. I'd like to caution people as well that now that the hearing is closed, I can't take in any new evidence or testimony. So oftentimes folks will think of something that they wish they would have said or shared with me after these hearings are over. I will not consider that if it comes through my inbox or is sent to me, because I'm not allowed to consider any additional evidence now that we're closed. Any questions about any of that before we sign off here, or anything else?
No.
Okay, great. Well, if you have questions about procedure or anything like that, or you'd like just a status update on where I am with the decision, feel free to reach out. I can answer procedural questions like that, and I'm happy to. At the beginning, I said these decisions typically take about 2 weeks. I know this is sort of it's an inopportune time to try to hold to that tight 2-week timeline because we have a couple holidays between now and then. I'll do everything I can to get it to you all as quickly as possible, and hopefully by the end of the new year. But if it goes a few days after, that wouldn't be surprising. Either way, if you'd like an update on where I'm at, please reach out to me and I'll let you know.
Thank you
Okay,
for
well, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope everyone has a good holiday.